everybody. How are you all doing today? For starters, Happy New Year, everyone. It is the 1st of January, a new beginning. Well, not so much for me. Anyway, we are going to continue today with Unreal Engine 4 tutorials where my friends Transfer Gemini are learning how to use the Unreal Engine so you can later on make our own little project. Right now I think he's just waiting for me, and maybe I already have the documentation opened. I just hope I have it open the right spot. And let me hop on right into his stage. Oh, while I do this, hey there, Darkens. How you doing? And before I forget, of course, down in the description below there's a link to the power shop. You can get energy mixes, sleep mixes, hydration shakers, and even stickers. And if you use code Blackheart, you'll get a 10% discount and help support the channel in the process. Now let's hop on over to Gem's stage.
Okay, and I'm working on the website, so... Oh, there he is. Let's go ahead and invite Blackheart into the chat, into the stage. There we go.
Hello there, Gem. How you doing?
Not bad there, Blackheart, not bad. I kind of started late myself, but yeah.
Didn't sleep too well? Or maybe you went to sleep a little too late?
Slept, well, I mean, stayed up late for everything. Then woke up late, had lunch late, and started the stream late. So I was like, going, okay, well, can't really do any of the Pega, so I'm just gonna have to start up with Unreal today. So, yeah. But obviously I'll pick up the Pega again tomorrow. So, seeing that I'm probably not going to be staying up until midnight tonight anyway, so. oh.
Something wrong?
Got it close. Yeah, I
Another
forgot
night light.
I forgot that I had background music going. It's like, oops.
Gotta be careful with that, especially if it's not straight from YouTube.
Oh yeah, I know. One of the things that I was also kind of, well, maybe after we're done with the Unreal, let's talk a little bit more.
Sure.
Or if you can, I would like to discuss something with you. Okay.
Sure.
But obviously, I don't want to, take people's time up with the Unreal. So we can get started on the Unreal here. But I want to discuss something more with you afterwards. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay.
If there are night lights, if you haven't tried your, maybe try and reset your what's it called again? Modem. And you see if that refreshes and helps with the internet connection. Yes, someone in my chat having some internet issues.
Well, I mean, it all depends on how much they're running.
If it ain't that modem, then it's the internet service itself.
Could be. Could be something. Could be something within their own personal network too. Like they could be. Like someone else could be like streaming some movies or TV shows on their internet, which could be taking up a lot of their bandwidth as well. So
downloading would be the biggest issue, not so much the viewing a video on a streaming service.
Well, no, I mean that would take up a lot of data being transferred into your network if you tried to stream a like a TV or movie, or someone else was streaming like streaming in a TV or movie at the same time that you're like if you have like, you know, 10 TV shows trying to run on your internet at the same time, something's going to give.
Yeah, that
You
many?
know,
Yeah.
you know, or something, I'm just well, I mean, it all depends on how fast their internet connection is too.
And how
So,
many people are using it. So a lot of people using it, that can also cause internet issues.
yeah. So, uh, if they have an open connection, if they don't have like a closed connection on their internet, then someone else could be like, connecting into their Wi-Fi. That could be also a thing. You know, so yeah, lots of different things that could be happening on the internet. So, okay, let's see. Last we left off, um, where were we? We were talking about the wet and dry levels within the submix properties last time. Did we get any further than that? I think we did we? I think we just pretty much got to the submix effects, and that was it.
Yeah, I think we got to just submix effects.
Okay.
We didn't get to the part of making the submix itself.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead and start that up, shall we?
Yeah.
Alright. So a number of submix effects are available using the Synthesis and DSP Effects plugin. This plugin is made by Epic, and new Synthesis source effects and submix effects are often added to this plugin. Third-party plugin makers can also easily add to the list of available submix effects. The general requirement for non-sound-filled submix effects is that they are able to handle multiple audio channels, up to 8 channels. Okay. Making submix effect presets. A submix effect preset is an asset that exists in the content browser and is hooked up to the submix effect chain.
Ow, my ends! Want me to pull on your whiskers or something? God damn it! Don't pinch me! I'm busy! She pinched me so hard right now.
Ouch. Pinched you.
Yep.
Not normally what a cat does, but...
Oh, this one loves to pinch me.
I mean, it's just normally fingers, so...
Oh no, she
maybe
uses her teeth to, like, pinch. Like, literally pinches with her teeth.
Okay, but well, bite pinch, yeah. Okay. Do you need a minute?
No, she's hiding right now. She knows what she did.
Okay. Got through the armor. That dragon armor wasn't enough to handle the cat bite. Oof.
Oh, this kitty's got a mean bite.
Alright. You create a submix effect preset, right click on the content browser, and then select sound effects and the submix effect preset. This will give you a class picker where you can select the effect you want to create the preset asset for. Okay, so they're showing various items there: convolution, delay, dynamics, filter, a lot of stuff that, yeah, we're probably gonna have trouble determining which one is best.
Yeah.
Maybe, even then, it's like, what exactly is this doing overall? I mean, it probably would be nice to be able to see like what different effects, or what the different effects sounds like, so we can go, oh, so that's what the convolution is, or that's what the delay is, or that kind of stuff. So or some kind of audio reference to them in some fashion or another. just to kind of understand, like, you know, I think, at some point in time I'll need to like look up on YouTube and see if there's like a video out there that basically says this is what reverb is, and then they kind of play a sound and they add the reverb effect into it, kind of thing. Like, or they basically say, okay, here's the normal sound, and then it goes like, car horn or something like that, and then they go, okay, this is what you do if you add a reverb to it, and blah blah blah. You know, I don't know. Be kind of nice to if there's something like that out there, but oh well. I'll see if there's, or if anybody knows, then feel free to maybe post that into the comments of the video, and we'll go from there. Note, plugins will automatically extend the options available in the pick submix effect class list. Okay. So, any plugins you add will be automatically added. Gotcha. Blueprint APIs and submixes. Submixes can be very useful in blueprints. For example, you can reference a submix in a blueprint by creating a sound submix variable reference. Okay. Alright. Recording submix audio in a blueprint. Okay. Submixes support recording the audio output of a submix to either a PCM, pulse code modulation, WAV file, okay, that is output to disk, or to a sound wave asset. Only one recording per submix can be active at a time. The default path for saved WAV files is saved bounced WAV files. Sound waves are saved to the root directory of the content browser. I mean, obviously you're going to be needing you're going to be needing to hold on to the sound, the sound files and stuff like that, but it's saving creating a submix and creating a completely different wave out of it. It's like, seems kind of odd, because you would think, that, sound mix would be, a mixture of all different kinds of sounds, right? So, you'd have sound files of all those, smaller individual sounds that are being added into the submix, right? So why would you want to have that as a larger WAV file? It's not like you're going to be repeating that WAV file over and over again, because sometimes you might need to change, what's like the ordering of said sound. Like, for example, if you're having like some gunfire or something like that, it might not always be consistent, or like, timed in the right spots or anything along those lines based off of other sounds, right? So you wouldn't necessarily want to save like 10 seconds of sound in a WAV file. So this seems a little odd to me, but I don't know. You do you think there's something that you can think of that might be useful for this?
All I can think is a looping sound, probably. Something that's constantly running, you need it to loop.
Right, but I mean, wouldn't you want to have that as its as like a separate audio or something like that. You know, I don't know.
Well, two types of audio can exist: a looping audio and the cue audio. We've seen whenever we look at on the engine itself with the samples, there was always one that was the loop and the other one that was on cue. So maybe those
All
are
right.
technically the same audio, but at the same time they're not.
Yeah, I'm just, you know, the problem that I have with it is that this is meant to save the the submix, which is like, okay, well, if you have the audio, you know, um, that's great, but you know, you add it, you add like multiple audios into a submix. Why would you want to save the submix afterwards, kind of thing? That's what I'm. That's what's kind of weirding me out a little bit. Like you have like three
Reusability,
different,
perhaps.
maybe, I don't know. It doesn't sound like. I mean, unless they're wanting to just basically say, hey, we can't add these audios directly into our own mixer, so we're gonna use the engine to do it. Um, then maybe like, hey, I'm going to add in, like, we're in a metal factory and we're gonna want to just keep the ambient sounds the same, but we have like the hammering over there, we have the burning sounds over there, we have the music, so we're all gonna kind of combine that all together into one soundtrack
One looping
mix
soundtrack, pretty much.
that will just kind of repeat over time or something like that. Then maybe.
I do see that.
And that way you don't have to save like the individual files, but yet at the same time you're still probably going to be wanting to have those individual sounds anyway. So
Like you would have both options available if you rely on this. Like you have the individual sounds on one side, but then you have everything mixed in together for a specific area, and you don't have to worry about doing that again.
yeah, I don't know. Seems a little odd to me, but I mean, I could see the like maybe the need for it, like a very nuanced need for it, maybe. But I don't see it as something that you would really want to use often. So I'm just, that's my mind right at this moment in time. Maybe it is used often. I don't know, but it doesn't seem like it would be something that would be. So I'm just saying, you know. Um, you can change either of these paths when setting up finished recording output. See below. So. So start recording output properties, expected duration, an optional advanced parameter to pre-allocate an internal audio buffer in seconds for the anticipated duration. Submix to record, the submix you want to record. Pause recording output, pauses the recording. Resume recording output, resumes the recording. Finish recording output, ends the recording. Ends the recording, saves it. Okay, that's a weird sentence though.
They forgot the and there in the middle.
Yeah. Properties. Export type. Whether to export or save the submix recording as a WAV file or a sound wave. Now, I could see the need for saving it as a sound wave, as a U asset, something that you can reuse, like, during the gameplay, kind of thing. So you're combining the sounds into something in the engine itself. It saves it as a engine asset that will be reused by the engine while the game is playing. I can understand that, but having it save as like a separate file itself that seems odd to me. that's why I was like, going, why would you want to save it as a different WAV file? That just gets put right back into the engine again. That kind of thing. So
I guess it's in
that's
the
why I
case
was
that
like,
you it something you know you're gonna use, but you don't want to edit it. Well, the U asset is something you can edit.
yeah.
So it's a
So
safe measure that you don't edit the wrong thing.
yeah. But like I said, I would see the U asset being, used more often in my vision, in my mind, then I would see the need for the WAV file being saved. That's it. That's my mind. You know, if it's the other way around, then well, I'll need to be corrected on that. But but that's just how my vision is on this. You know, did you kind of also agree, or do you kind of see the need for a WAV file being,
I would
something that
have to
should be
experiment with that in order to determine that.
okay? That's reasonable. That's reasonable. Uh, like I said, I'm obviously, uh, I'm not 100% sure, but that's all. I'm just kind of putting my initial thoughts out there. Okay, so we have the name of the asset, we have the path of the exported asset. If nothing is entered, it will save to the default path for the export type. Okay. Submix to record the submix that was recorded, and existing sound wave to overwrite. If saving as a sound wave, you have the option to overwriting a previous asset. Huh. Okay. Interesting. So, real-time analysis and blueprints. Submixes support the retrieval real-time analysis in a blueprint either through envelope following or through spectral analysis, such as the fast Fourier transform, FFT. Okay, we're getting into very nuanced, or very terms that I'm not 100% sure about here.
Yeah, same.
Envelope and FFT, but uh, let's see if they explain a little bit more.
Hopefully.
Add envelope Add envelope follower delegate is added when the new envelope data is available on the submix. That doesn't help. It is called with the envelope value of the submix per channel, left, right, center, left surround, right surround, and so on. Okay. That envelope following starts the submix envelope follower with the given submix. If the delegate is hooked up, it will begin to fire. Okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
This
They don't bother explaining what the envelope is for anyone that isn't a sound engineer. So
Yeah.
what does the envelope have? What is its purpose?
And it does this basically the same thing with the spectral analysis, which again is, I don't know what it really covers. So I'm thinking let's go ahead and kind of skip these two sections because I don't
Yeah.
know what it's really
We will
talking
have to
about,
look
to
this
be
up
honest.
through some other source that will explain
Mm,
what they actually are.
yeah. I mean, if someone understands these two properties better, then, feel free to put it in either comments right now in our chat during the live stream or, in the comment section in the video itself. We would appreciate any guidance along those lines. Even if it's like maybe a link to another video that might explain it better, that works just as well. So, uh, volume control and blueprints. Uh, let's move on to that one.
Yeah.
Volume controls can also be set for submixes from a blueprint. A set submix output volume directly sets the output volume of the submix. Okay, anything more than that? Is that it? You're just changing the submix volume? That's all this does. Hmm. Why? Hmm. I guess there is some need for doing something along those lines, but um like I could see like the need for like increasing or decreasing like a submix volume level, like going back to the factory, right? You know,
Yeah.
if you if you're outside the factory, you're not hearing all the sounds coming from inside the factory. It'll be muffled. So maybe you lower the volume so you instead of the submix being uh, at a certain volume that you just have for just general purposes, right? Um, you know, then you can lower it based off of like, hey, you're outside of the room, so therefore you're not hearing it very loud. Whereas if you go inside the room, you maybe increase the volume even more. So
Another use is
maybe,
dialogue, maybe. If you have like a lot of noise around you, but you want the dialogue to stand out, then you would use it to make everything around you to lower its volume so you can hear the characters talking.
that too, you know. So
I've played games that don't do that, and it's very hard to hear the characters.
indeed, indeed. But at the same time, if you're immersed in the area, then it's like, well, yeah, it probably would be kind of hard to hear them. Like if you're like inside of a factory where everybody's like having to, you know, put on sound dampeners on their ears, then yeah, it would probably be really hard to hear someone unless they were shouting themselves, you know. So, but yeah, okay. Um, I could see, and then I could see a need for doing something along those lines. So that makes
Yeah.
sense. So, submix effect control and blueprints. Add submix effect dynamically adds a submix effect preset to the end of the submix effect chain. Okay. So so here's a problem that I have with this particular um I'm having a little bit of difficulty with these two images here. It's like they have the event begin play, you have the submix, you have the add submix effect, and then you have the basically the exact same thing right below, but it's now the remove. And it's like, wouldn't you want to have like, you have the add submix effect, and then you want it to have a certain amount of time, and then you do the remove, or maybe they have it, like I would like to see like a larger version of how they would handle an add and effect with like the submix or like a duration kind of like how would they go about doing that? Like now I'm not saying that, um everything has to be like, perfectly in line with everything or like um I'm not expecting like, hey, you add the effect in, it's gonna last 10 seconds, and then you do the remove, okay, and every single time. No,
Mm, what I can think
I
of
get,
is like the event that is saying could be like going through a door, perhaps, or going into a cave. or out of it. That could be the event itself. Then if you're going in, of course you want to add it, but if you go out, you want to remove it.
Yeah, but wouldn't you want to have something like, instead of the event begin play, wouldn't that be more along the lines of event end play kind of thing? Like you have, um, like you enter, you enter in a cave, right? And then you add an echo effect in the cave, to your submix, right? So now all the sounds are affected, with an echo effect. Sure, no problem. But I mean, once you exit the cave, wouldn't that be more of an event end play than a
Uh,
begin play, or is,
could be a
you
separate
know,
event. Like going in is one event, going out is like its own separate event,
yeah,
even if they have the
I
same
don't know.
trigger.
Well, I mean, if the trigger location is in the same spot, then you'd have to judge as to where the player is entering from, and then determine, you know do you end, or do you or do you start, or do you end the event in question? So um
It depends how it's configured, probably.
yeah, like um for, let me take an example here. um in Subnautica, okay. You've played that game as well, so
Yeah.
um when you go into the Aurora for the very first time, okay. If you go through certain areas, your the your iPad, your tablet will give you a message about what is kind of going on in the Aurora at that particular moment in time, right? And as you go further into the Aurora, you get more and more of these messages. Well, here's the thing. Here's the problem that we have with, there's a problem that I have with that particular section, is that there's two ways to get into the Aurora, right? There's typically the main path, that is the correct path, and then there's the typically regarded as the exit, you know, but people can still enter in there. Typically, it's blocked off by a lot of tables and stuff like that, so you'd have to remove everything in order to enter from there, but you could still enter, in there. Problem is that when you do it that way, when you go into the exit, um, you get everything backwards. You get all these trigger events backwards.
Yeah, but
You
those
know,
events are on cue and aren't exactly repeatable. In this case, I would see it as something you would use more on something that will repeat itself, like going into your underwater base. The water effects like go away. You'd be removing an effect there, and when you walk out of your base back into the water, you'd be adding that effect back in.
right?
While the messages, those are
Um,
a one-time on cue event.
right. But my point is just the fact that it the trigger there doesn't care where the character is coming from. Okay. So as soon as you enter that zone, that trigger zone, it will, start that event no matter what. Okay, it will
Yeah,
do that,
that's just
begin the
boundary
event
breaking.
begin play and stuff like that. Okay. Um,
Yeah, that's what happened when people do boundary break.
yeah.
That will
Um,
be in any game. Like if you're going from the wrong side somehow, then yeah, you're gonna cut everything backwards because the collisions were not programmed to have you backwards. You were never meant to go in from that side. That's why those on cue events are locked on one specific area to trigger once.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's the kind of the oversight of the devs in that, you know, particular case. Like they assumed, oh, the player will always go into this particular route, and you don't have to worry about them seeing the other routes, and therefore, them entering or in there, or they basically was like on, okay, we're just going to do it this way, and let's not worry about what happens if they go on through the other route. Um, but the point is that the uh, if you're entering in the cave, you trigger that event. You add that effect into it. It adds that echo effect in there, right? So it just seems odd that they have another event begin play for like maybe exiting the um, you know like exiting a cave. They would have another event begin play, but I don't know. That's why I was, it would be fantastic to be able to kind of see like a larger version of like these two kind of
They're
combined
probably
together in
significantly
some way.
larger. They're probably significantly larger when you start putting stuff in.
Probably, probably. But I'm just saying, it'd be nice to be able to kind of see like a beginning and end of it, kind of thing. But at least like a very basic understanding of it. Even if it's something simple, you know, would be nice to kind of be able to see, you know. But we'll probably be playing around with that anyway, so we'll try to figure it out when the time comes. So, all right. Remove submix effect preset at index is similar to remove submix effect preset, but removes the submix effect preset at the given index in the submix effect chain if an effect exists at that index. Okay. Um, so if you have a lot of effects being added into a chain, aka an array of effects, then you can remove one of them at any one particular point in time. So, maybe like for example, you're going through the cave, and you might still be kind of hearing, some additional effects, but maybe you need to like remove the echo for some reason. So you can kind of remove that echo effect in there, but keep everything else, going. So maybe, I don't know.
What I see this as it says, it's removing an indexed. Like, let me see an example. Say you went into an area, you did everything you had to do, but when you leave, you can never go back in there. So you don't really need the audio in there. So you just remove that index, so it doesn't need to register anymore.
Well, no. This is talking about the effects, not the submix itself. This is removing the effects that is being placed on the submix. If it was removing the audio from that room, that'd be a different. That
It's
would
just
be a different.
removing its way to access the audio, pretty much. Not the audio itself, but the way to access it.
No. Okay. So, like, I don't know how many effects you can place on an audio. Reverb, echo. I don't know. I don't know all the different effects that you can add um, into a submix, right? Um, you're changing the submix in some way. Like maybe you're increasing the pitch, maybe you're increasing the sound wave, the size of it. Maybe you're um, distorting it in some way, and you're adding a reverb, you're adding echo, whatever. um, and that's adding into a chain of effects that are affecting the submix itself. What you're doing is it's saying that, hey, instead of, you know, removing all these effects on this one submix, you know, it's basically saying I want to remove the pitch, but I'm keeping everything else. You know, we're
Yeah,
no longer changing
that's
the pitch of the submix, so we're removing that index from this chain of effects that
and
are affecting
that's
the
what
submix.
I'm pretty much saying. That it removes the index. That's what I'm saying. That if there's something in said index that you don't want to be accessed, then remove the index, whatever's in that index.
Right,
That
you're
remove the
removing the effect
index.
that
Yeah.
you're removing the effect that is located at said index. Yes. Okay. As long as we're on the same track on that one. It sounded like you were trying to say that they were removing a sound file,
No,
which
they're
isn't
removing the index. That's what I'm saying.
right. Yeah, they're removing the effect, at that index. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. As long as we're good. All right. So, replace submix effect. Replaces the submix effect preset at the given index with the new effect preset. Okay. So, in other words, instead of say, hey, I want to we're changing the pitch, but now we want to have an echo here. So we're going to remove the pitch and we're going to put in an echo. That's basically that's what I'm kind of getting out of this one. So, clear submix effects clears the submix effects chain on the given submix. Hmm. Okay. Um,
I can't think of when you would use this.
and how is that not something similar to like remove? What is isn't clear the same as a remove the remove effects? Hmm.
I don't know. I can't think of a situation in which you would do this. Unless
Hold on a second.
maybe if you were like to like get a game over or like load a game, you need to clear it so I can load in whatever was there before.
Well, here's the thing that you know like okay. um it's saying here remove if subx effect preset. Okay. And if you look on the image here, it says submix effect preset delay. So it's removing a delayed effect from the submix, you know. So that chain is no longer having the delay on that submix whatsoever. Whether or not it removes like all of the delays or anything like that, but like maybe um I don't know how I don't know how the chain works, right? I'm not quite sure what it means by a submix effect chain. I don't really get what they're kind of talking about there. Obviously, the submix could be like a 10-minute soundtrack, right? It could be like one. It could be like 10 minutes of sound. It could be music, could be sound effects, whatever, right? Submix could be that long, right? Potentially, I'm just thinking out loud. So maybe at one point in time in the submix, they said, hey, we need to add a delay in there before it starts back up again, right? So that 10 minutes now becomes like 11 minutes, right? It puts in a delay, it ends that delay, and then you continue on. Um, you know, they might be able to do that like again, like multiple times. Like they might add like 1 minute delays and like, add 5 1 minute delays, in that 10 minute, you know, stomachs, section. So now it's like, 15 minutes, right?
Right.
Just thinking out loud here. I don't really know. If it says, remove submix effect preset, where it says like, hey, remove delay, would it remove like all those potential delays? If I'm thinking correctly, would it be basically saying, hey, I'm going to remove all the delays in that submix, or would it like remove the one? I'm not quite sure
I guess
about
it
that,
depends how
right?
you set it up on the blueprint.
Yeah, maybe. Again, I don't know. Um, I don't know how they handle the chains and stuff like that. Um, but let's say, you have like multiple effects, much like the index there, right? You have index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3, index 4, that's all filled with, all these delays, right?
Right.
Um, but the remove might only remove like one effect at a time. Same with the remove index, it would only remove one at a time. So maybe clear is the one that will actually remove them all. You know, um, like you might have like different presets added into your sound mix, right? It might not just be delay. It might be like echo. It might be like pitch up or pitch down or whatever. I don't know. Like I said, I don't really know what the um, all the different effects there are that you can add into the Unreal Engine, right? Um,
Clear, we just get rid
so
of all of it.
Player would probably just get rid of all of them. Well, all at once, remove them all, so you no longer have any effects affecting that sound mix, afterwards.
Yeah.
So, um, like you have a basically character dialogue, right? Or character speaking. You're adding some effects into that character speaking, because they're in a certain area. Like you add like an effect, an echo effect to them. Like maybe you're adding like a little pitch up or pitch down or whatever. And then once they exit said cave, you want to remove all that. So you do the clear, clears all the effects, and now you're hearing them naturally without any effects affecting their speech. So maybe that's what's kind of going on here. Maybe.
Maybe.
So, set sound mix effect chain override provides a way to override the entire submix effect chain at once. Okay. Like right here, they're saying, hey, we're gonna make an array of the different effects, and you can see the array here of the indexes, delay effect, filtering, so on and so forth, that is changing the sound mix. So, like when you are adding in a submix effect, it might automatically put it into like an index of 0. Like you add your first effect in, and it puts it into index 0. So you could remove just index 0, and you basically clear out the effects, right? If you just add in the 1, right? Um, so in the override, you're basically changing what effects are already in place on the submix, and you're just kind of putting in this brand new effect chain into it. You're completely changing around like the ordering or whatever. I don't know exactly how, you know, what the ordering really does per se. How it changes based off of the ordering. How would a submix be affected by a delay effect and filtering? I don't really know. Um, but it it does a complete replacement of it from the sounds of it. So that's interesting. Questions? Any
No.
any concerns that you might have? Do you feel like we're do you feel the same way that that I am, or do you feel like there's something a little different than what I said?
Well, let's see
No.
what's underneath it. It explains what each one does.
Okay. So properties is sound submix. The submix to override with the submix effect preset chain. The submix effect preset chain is an array of submix effect presets. And fade time seconds, the crossfade time of the submix effect chain. This will fade from the current effect chain to the new effect chain override. Alright, so, fade, it will fade the old effect chain for 2 seconds while it brings in the new chain in. So,
That way the change isn't abrupt or sudden.
well, I mean, yeah, the fade time would basically be, um, well, I mean, you can kind of do that right now, right? If you go to studio mode, right, that we have in OBS, right? There is, you can change the transition from, say, the live to like webcam, right? Like let's say that I want to do a transition to webcam, right, in the studio mode. Um, and there's an option to do the fade, um, but it's not really giving me the. Oh, okay, that's uh, there, and it's giving a lot of um, the time between the two is quite short in my studio mode right at this moment in time. So 300 milliseconds is really not a lot of time.
3 seconds, pretty much.
No, no, it's milliseconds. 300 milliseconds. That's 0.3 seconds. That's not very long. Um, but if I like increase the fade from 300 milliseconds to maybe 1,000 milliseconds, basically 1 second, then the transition might take a little bit longer. Um, so now it's the the change is a little bit more pronounced, obviously, with that kind of a fade. You kind of see the change of that transition from one set, so from one to the other. So that's kind of what it's all about with the effect chain. But in this case, again, I don't know what the effects they're talking about per se. I mean, I see delay effect and filtering, but um, put it back to live. Um, so I don't know what effects that they had prior to that. Maybe they just had a delay, for example, right? So now they're changing the single delay into the you know like maybe they have a delay and then they have a filtering afterwards, right?
Well,
So they're trying to add like a delay effect in there, but they don't want to like try to rearrange all the all the effects that are happening on that submix. Like they don't necessarily want to try to remove and then add and all that kind of jazz. They just want to change the full-on chain. And the fade time will just basically say, okay, in those 2 seconds, we're taking the delay and filtering from the old one, and we're slowly changing it over, within those 2 seconds, we're changing the delay and filtering over to the delay effect, and filtering. How it does that, I don't really know. The fade, the one would think, hey, you're lowering the volume for the one effects and you're increasing the volume for the other, so eventually the audio for the one effects will be 0 and can be complete, is gone, and then you have the other effects that are at full volume. So that's kind of what the fade is pretty much all about. It's like are you kind of getting it, or shall I provide another example of a fade?
The fade, I'm guessing it'll just be depending how we set it up.
What do you mean?
Well, while the sound is being delayed, like the fade can be used for both lowering the volume of, like fading out the old audio while it's also fading in the new one, or have the old one fade out first before fading in the new audio.
I don't know if they give too much control over how you fade in the new effects chain. Okay, from the looks of it, it sounds like this is a complete overwrite, like right then and there. Okay, like if you want to like fade out the effect chain with no effect chain coming back in, then you'd probably want to do. I don't think there's
We can't
really
really
any
see what
kind
the
of.
delay effect is actually doing. Like there is a delay, but there's also a delay effect, which could be a fade in and of itself.
Well, again, I don't know how the chain really works in that regard. But the fade time is all affecting is just affecting the chain. You're replacing one chain with another. That's it. That's all the chain. That's all the fade time is talking about. You're changing one list of array. You're changing one array to another. That's it. That's all the fade is kind of talking about here. So you could have a effect chain of like 10 different effects affecting the submix, and now you're changing it over to a effect chain of, say, like just 3, right? So you're removing a lot of effects and a lot of different chain, whatever's happening on the submix, you're fading out the old chain of like 10 effects, and you're slowly like increasing the volume of the new chain of like 3. That's basically what it's doing there. So, and it's not, I mean, you can have it instantaneous where the fade time could be like 0, completely cuts out the 10, you now have the 3. So you could have that. Or it could be like super long, a long effect time, like it could be 10 seconds. So, the 10 will take 10 seconds to fade out completely to 0, where the The 3 will take 10 seconds to slowly make up to the full volume or something like that. I don't know.
Mm.
But I don't think there's a way to um, fade out the 10 to 0 and then start the fade in for the 3 afterwards. It this override doesn't seem to give that
I guess we'll understand once we
process.
start messing with it, since we can't see the submix preset either. But we know there's a submix, we just don't know how it's configured. So I guess
Yeah,
once we start messing with it, we might get the hang of it.
yeah, but yeah, this is this. Well, I mean, the submix will stay the same. Okay, this is only affecting the what's affecting that submix. That's it. You understand that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so just want to make sure. um, yeah, the submix doesn't change. It will kind of remain. For anybody that doesn't, like maybe you're still kind of confused about it. The submix doesn't change. Okay, you can add all these different sound effects, audio or whatever into submix. The submix won't necessarily change from that. You can take that submix, put it into another spot in the game, and it will have the same exact sounds. All the sound effects, music, and so on and so forth. You can basically take that submix and repeat it multiple times, I would imagine, right, in the game. Um, so one would imagine. Again, I could be completely wrong on that, but it would seem kind of silly for them to not be able to do that too. If maybe I'm just crazy. Um, if I'm wrong, then feel free to correct me. I'm more than willing to take that L and let me know, like, hey, I'm being stupid on that. But I would imagine that you can take a one submix and put it multiple times, you know, in a game. Um, the effect chain is you're basically adding in effects. What effects are, I don't really know. They're saying delay effect, filtering, maybe echo, maybe pitch, maybe, something else that's changing the submix in some way. Okay, you're adding something into that submix that will change it somehow in some way. I'm not quite sure exactly how or, well, why I understand, but, I'm not quite sure exactly how it would change it, right? Um, so, you know, the effects, you're adding effects into the chain. You're adding like 10 effects, like I said. You're putting in all these different effects that are changing the submix in some fashion or another. Okay, and what this override is basically doing is that saying, hey, I don't want these 10 effects affecting this submix anymore. You know, you would think you're clearing it out, you're clearing out all the effects, so it's just the submix back to its original state, right? But no, in this particular case, they are wanting to put in a different chain of effects. Again, how it does it, I don't really know. Um, but they're replacing an old chain that they had on there, could be like the 10 effects, like I said, with a brand new one that they're adding in here, you know, for delay effect, and filtering. They're adding it into this, so now the submix is now being affected by this particular chain of effects, the delay effect, and filtering, and it's removing the previous one. The previous one is gone. It's no longer viable. They they aren't using it anymore. It's you know you don't care about it. It's done. It's cleared out. So that's what the override, I
Mm,
would imagine,
the
is
right
is
doesn't
doing.
remove it. If you look further down below, the next part says clear override. That means it would go back to its original preset. So the override won't really get rid of the original submix if it can go back to it.
Oh, that's true. Interesting. Hmm. That makes it to be, and that can make for a really messy
Hmm, I don't
effect
know.
chain if that's the case. Like if you're not careful, if you're like adding in new effect chain and new effect chain, new effect chain, then you're basically um potentially just adding more into your memory. You could overload your memory if you're not careful with that. Hmm. Um. Okay. Let me explain a little bit why this could be potentially dangerous here. Okay. In C++, um, one of the major problems that a lot of people have with C and C++ is pointers, memory management, and memory leaks. Okay, hence the reason why you typically have Java with the garbage collection, right? Um, what if you don't mind, I can kind of explain this a little bit more there, Blackheart, if you're okay with that. Would you
Well, I
like?
don't really have a lot of time left.
Okay. Um, I have a, I'm worried that this could be a problem with memory management, but we can worry about that tomorrow. We can worry about that tomorrow. I'll maybe explain this a little bit more tomorrow, or my ideas about it tomorrow. Sound good? We can close out here for now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and close on out on this. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording on this. I'm gonna thank everybody for watching. So, um, give a like and subscribe to both of us. It'd be fantastic. It would help us out on the YouTube algorithm. Check out our description for Blackheart and I for links. That helps us out. Um, and yeah. Okay. So stop recording. And I want to talk with you a brief time. I want to. If you remember correctly, I told you about how I had a website a long time ago, right?
Right.
And how I hadn't touched it in a while, and I thought about trying to work on it at some point in time again. And you maybe gave an offer about trying to help me out with it.
Yeah.
Is that offer still on the table? Would you be consider you would you consider working with me on trying to get that up and running again, or try to get it to a working state?
I could have a look at it and see what I can do.
Well, I mean, we'd be working on it together because it's not going to be an easy project. So I'm I'm just you don't have to give a definitive. I'm just saying, would you be interested in something like that? You
Hmm,
know,
I guess so, yeah. I mean, sooner or later we're
okay,
gonna have to do something like that.
yeah. Um, well, I mean, this is a different. This was one of my ideas that I had some time ago, um, but I never finished it off. I never completed it to its fruition. Um, don't know. Did I have it in my in a different playlist altogether? Mm, um,
Okay, in the meantime, while you look at I'm gonna mute everything so I can start closing down on my end.
okay, sounds good. Um,
Okay, you guys should not be able to hear him anymore, and he should not be able to hear me, so at least if I did this right. Gonna close this stream down for now. I'll be back in roughly an hour and a half, for some Terraria. Hopefully these things work well enough. I might need to move Discord back into hardware mode though, so that I leave enough room on the processor for Terraria. I have it outside of the hardware mode because it was interfering with Honkai and Genshin. Well, okay. That's gonna be it for today's Unreal stream. I'll be back. Like I said, I'll be back in a while, and well, I hope to see you all in a little bit. Bye bye for now.